Howdy folks, I'm your real fake outsider Art General coming to you from the bunker system hidden in the jungles of the Midwest under the Art Villa. Jeep Day, that's right, it's Jeep Day. And why is it Jeep Day? Because one YouTuber asked me to talk about the Jeep that's behind me. Well, you may think it's a World War II Jeep, but it's not. It's a 1951 M38. That would make it Korean War vintage. The poor girl, I must apologize for her condition. She's sat in the garage now for about 5 years because just life changes and you get doing other things. And but to talk about the Jeep, as I said, 1951 M38, and talk about the differences. So when you watch certain World War II movies, and there are many of them out there, they use the wrong Jeep. They use this Jeep, which always kills me. So I've dusted her off a little bit. You can see just enough to get the first layer off without going into detailing. Where to start? Well, the M38 was produced. I don't have the reference material in front of me, and it's been so long. I think there were 65,000 units produced, maybe a few more shipped to Canada. It used the same engine as the World War II Jeep. The drivetrain's heavier. During World War II, they realized they needed to be able to deep water forward these vehicles, all their vehicles, so they came out with the M series vehicle, of which, if I'm not mistaken, this was the first of that series, and many components interchange between vehicles, meaning like electrical components and so forth and so on. So this was a 24 volt vehicle as opposed to a 6 or a 12 volt, which would have been World War II, and the generator and alternator and other components of the engine were, of course, a lot heavier. There were two batteries, one in the engine cowling and one inside the engine, which I'll show you in a minute. This vehicle's been converted to 12 volt, which, of course, is a blessing and a curse. A curse in that the vehicle is no longer original, a blessing in that you only have to maintain one battery. And the generator and other components are easier to have worked on and or cheaper. And this is it's been a while since I've been into this, so you have to excuse me if I got some of my facts wrong. I just do. The Pioneer toolkit on the M38 was on the opposite side, on the passenger side, from the World War II Jeep. The tires were slightly different. They both used non-directional tires, military tires, but the World War II tires were more square. The edges were more square, but the pattern was slightly different. The neat thing about military vehicles is that they were always worked on in the field, and alterations were made to suit whatever environment the soldiers were in at the time. I believe this came from a fire department because there was a layer of red paint on it when I bought it, and they're lifting shackles. That's when you wanted to put it in a ship, they would strap shackles, straps to shackles, and lift the vehicle. The gas tank under the seat, the inlet for the gas is on the outside. In World War II vehicles, I believe you had to lift up the front seat to put the gas in. First aid kit and fire extinguisher, which is may or may not be placed in the approved place. I don't know about that. Raffle rack, which at the time when I was looking for hardware to install it, I couldn't find any, and I had to make my own. So it's not installed right. I have the right hardware to install it. I think I've got it upside down, frankly. There's the data plates, and out of 65,000 vehicles, this was, I have to find it, there it is, 11,877. So it's fairly early on. And the engine's original, and I did replace the transmission. It finally gave up the ghost. From a CJ2A, it's a T90. They're all the same, as far as I know. Could be wrong on that too. And the pedestal mount, I've got that with the cradle for a dummy 1919 A4. And I've taken this car shows when it was running. It won me 2 or 3 trophies, and I'd put the machine gun on it, which of course the kids loved, and drove it in a Memorial Day parade with the machine gun on it. So everything's fine, everything's cool, and here's the radio system for it. It's a 12 volt. It's actual 12 volt system, military system. The power supply 12 volt, and the radio. You have to excuse me. It's been a long time. The power supply is a PP109, and the radio the radio. I used to know all this stuff off the cuff, and it's just been so long since I've been into it, I just don't remember. Antenna system for long distance communications, and the other neat thing about this Jeep, which is different, are these cutouts. And this device here it unscrews, and you were able to hook in an external power source like a generator. And this cutout was for deep water fording kit, which I have, but I don't have any of the components installed. And that was for, running the vehicle underwater. There's your shifters for high and low, and your standard, it's a 3-speed. First gear is non-synchronous, so if you're on a hill you have to double clutch it, which hardly anybody remembers anymore, very few people. But you have to learn how to do that if you want to drive the thing. Got the antenna, the correct antenna for the radio in the back, gas tank. I got all the things. Oh, the pedestal mount, that's not right. Well, it is a correct pedestal mount, but it's for an M151. At the time when I did this Jeep, the hobby's grown quite a bit, but when I did this Jeep, you could not find reproduction pedestals for your machine gun. So and I couldn't find an original, and they were very expensive. But at one point there were some of these pedestals floating around for M151s, and the difference is the bracket in the back, and I think the supporting arms are different. I have a back seat for this, and that's original, but I can't put it down because of the supporting arms. And I don't know if you can or can't if you have the right one. But nonetheless, I think someone's starting to repro the M151 pedestals, but I'm not sure. So even though this is the wrong one right now, it's probably worth more than the right one, or a repro, that is. So, but most parts are reproed now. You can almost build a Jeep from the ground up with repro parts if you're wealthy and so inclined. I mentioned the battery box before. This was your other 12-volt battery went in here. Here is where your deep water fording kit, the snorkel, would attach to and will come out. And this is your oil bath, air filter, and your oil filter. And again, original engine. Oh, you can see the 12-volt components in here. The 24-volt engine components are massive compared to the 12-volt. And the crossover tube, that's all original to the carburetor for deep water fording. The grill folds down, it's hinged, which is different than the World War II Jeep. So that folds down and the engine will lift out, and God knows, there you go, another long project. So not original, but pretty close looking, pretty close if you don't know what you're looking at. Not too bad. And switch back into Jeep mode and get the thing running and get it back out there, because it sure is a lot of fun. I highly recommend it as a hobby. Old Jeeps are great fun, and the price keeps going up, but it's still cheaper than many antique cars that you can buy and take out on the road, and you sure get a lot more attention, frankly. Years ago, I had a friend who I worked with, and he was young and looking for a way to impress women, so he bought himself a Porsche. Well, it was very expensive, right? And I bought a 1949 Hudson Commodore for $800. And it was a beautiful car, don't get me wrong. It had 90,000 miles on it, one owner who had covered the original interior, which was all cherry. It was amazing. An amazing vehicle, wonderful. So I have an $800 car, and as opposed to like an $18,000 car, which is a lot of money at the time, especially when you were just starting out. And so the lesson here is that, you can find, if you want a car to impress women or anyone, try a military vehicle. Like, tanks are very expensive right now, so I can't, they used to be, within the price of a small house, but now they're very expensive. You can't hardly find them, but you can still find armor, and that's, I think many women would be, into that, and want to be a part of that life experience with you, driving your half track around the town. They want to get under and help work on it, do the lube chart and all that. So I highly recommend it as a way to, keep your marriage together. Shooting and military vehicles. And look, I can see myself. Is that me in there? Look, that's